Hello, welcome into the show ahead of a big weekend. Potential title deciders in Germany and in Spain. Not to mention what happened in England just today. Shaka Hislop with me, Adrian Healy, Alejandro Moreno, Craig Burley on board. Raf Honigstein will be joining us. Steve Nicol not here. He's at home biting his fingernails down to a knob. But he was smiles in the end because Liverpool got what they needed. 3-1 win against Southampton to leapfrog back above Manchester City. 2 points the margin, albeit with a game extra played. Top off the league, of course, Mo Salah. No surprise for who is grabbing all the headlines. Super Salah. Mo Salah breaking his own 9-game scoring drought. Craig?
Well, Steve, let's get it right. Stevie was at home talking to a television.
Yes,
shouting. Talking very loudly to that.
For 80 minutes, shouting at a television because it was, I think, a bit frustrating for long periods.
Yep.
But ultimately, you've got to give credit to Liverpool because it's a pressure cooker situation now. There's 2 teams going for the title. It is extremely tight, as we know, and the pressure's on. And was it a great performance for long periods? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. In fact, it was downright sloppy, particularly in the first half. But substitutions made a difference. Mo Salah didn't have a great game again, no matter what anybody says, but scored a great goal. And by the way, had to score a goal because he had sort of, Firmino made the run and he'd biffed him off.
Yeah.
So it was either in the back of the net or it was more criticism.
And is it fair to say the game changed with the introduction of Henderson and Milner in the second half, Ali?
It did in terms of how clean or cleaner they were on the ball as compared to Wijnaldum and Keita. Now, what I would say about Mohamed Salah in particular is we've all sort of assumed that he, too, is feeling the pressure because he hasn't scored in who knows how many games, right? But when I see a guy that runs for 70 yards, sees Firmino wide open, and then says, you know what, I don't think so. This is my opportunity, and takes it as well as he did, then you have to imagine that pressure, what pressure?
Yeah.
Clearly, he's a guy that was very comfortable or is very comfortable with the way he's been playing. Goals haven't come as easy as they once did. But in this particular occasion, as important a goal as you can have for Liverpool, given the current circumstances, they need every goal from Mohamed Salah because, in the end, this is going to be really, really tight.
He even said after the game in the interview, didn't he? I had no intention of passing the ball whatsoever.
I appreciate the honesty.
I was only going to shoot.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I necessarily believe that. And in all honesty, I thought the Southampton defender, I can't remember exactly who it was, played it well. Because Mo Salah, player not in confidence, 2v1, you cut off the pass. Mo Salah, though, given that opportunity, took his goal wonderfully well. Yeah. No signs of any drought or lack of confidence, you have to say. But from a Southampton perspective, this all came from their corner, which I thought they made a little bit of a mess of in trying to carve out an opportunity. Then all of a sudden, they break and find themselves very thin at the back. And as frustrating and as frustrated Liverpool were, I thought Southampton were very good value in frustrating them, in being compact both ends of the pitch. A little bit of tweaking for them. They can be a better team, but as for right now, I'm not sure what the positives you take, given how close you are to the bottom 3.
Well, Liverpool, you know, I know we're talking about the first goal and there was an offside in it, but they should have had a penalty as well. When Keita went down in the second half. So they could feel a little bit aggrieved. If Southampton feel aggrieved on the other end, Liverpool can feel aggrieved at not getting the penalty. I've said all along, the biggest challenge for City and Liverpool are playing the teams at the bottom of the leagues. If they're not playing one of the top 6, is because these guys are fighting for their survival. And I think that's what we saw from Southampton this evening, is we saw them fighting for survival and Liverpool not quite at the best, but just getting the job done in the end.
Let's bring in Raf Honigstein to the discussion. First of all, Raf, Craig brought up the goal that might have been ruled out by VAR and wasn't. What was your take on that?
Well, the way the IFAB protocol for VAR is phrased, they're talking about the attacking phase that leads to the goal. So I think VAR in this case would have said these are 2 or 3 phases that precede the moment when he actually scores. So the fact that Salah was offside 1 or 2 attacking phases before will probably not be subject to review. So it's not 100% clear. We don't know what would have happened in practice, but I think the way it's phrased would have been very, very unlikely to be chalked off.
It was interesting, wasn't it? Because the TV coverage we were watching, the replay started with, it was clearly not the same phase of play, was it?
No, it was too far back, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was
about three crosses behind that. And so
Right.
you can make the argument that then Southampton would have had an opportunity to clear the ball multiple times. They did not, and eventually they end up scoring off of it. I don't think that VAR would have gotten involved in this whatsoever.
Which will mean the naysayers will have them banging their head on a wall saying, well, what's the point of VAR?
Yeah, well.
But then that's the problem is in how far. You've got to have a cut-off somewhere. Otherwise, you're just going to take it back and take it back and take it back. And so, you know, it's not perfect. It's not going to be
It's still a judgment there.
It's not going to be a perfect science, but I think it would not go back that far to chop that off.
Big picture, what does this result and this performance tell us about Liverpool's title credentials? Again, they found a way in nerve-shredding fashion to get over the line, like they did against Spurs, like they did against Fulham.
Listen, even though they're second, they have a game in hand, and yes, I know the old cliche, you prefer the points than the games. I still think Manchester City in pole position.
Really?
Liverpool will continue to chase and chase very hard between now and the end of the season. It all comes down to what kind of form Mo Salah is in to see out this season, whether Liverpool will continue to be at their best and push Manchester City all the way. City have the harder run-in, but Liverpool cannot afford passengers. Maybe this is a changing of Mo Salah's tide, which would suggest at least a decent run-in.
Yeah, at some point, I think if you're Liverpool, you have to have a match that is not full of nerves. That you actually impose yourself on the team and you create the chances and you take advantage of those opportunities, and it makes it more of a professional performance rather than this sort of chasing things down and hoping that somebody comes up with a moment of magic. And I know that as we get closer to the end of the season, the nerves are going to get stronger and stronger. So it just feels that one of these times the breaks are not going to go their way. And when that happens, that's when they drop points, and Manchester City on the other side seems to have more going for them in terms of players getting healthier, a full squad available, and simply a more talented team. So if Manchester City plays to their very best, I don't think it matters what Liverpool does. So Liverpool are the ones that have to keep up, and in keeping up, you have to avoid some of this nervous moment at some point during the closeout of this season.
I think if City jump the next three fences in the race, I think it's theirs. You know, at Palace,
But one of those is United, isn't it?
home to Tottenham, away to United.
Yeah.
If they can jump those three hurdles, I think they're going to. I think they'll do it, because their next three games are pretty easy, and it's in their hands. So the next three games for City are huge.
Yeah, Raf, what's your feeling of where this is going? I mean, winning narrow games when you don't perform well is supposed to be the mark of champions, isn't it?
Yes, but then those champions are not up against the best team in Premier League history. That is the problem. As much as we like to think that this is a story, that this is a narrative evolving here, it still might ultimately not be enough. And that is a frustrating thing, I think. The Liverpool can go on and win all their games and still come short and wonder what they could have done better. So I agree with Chuck. I think City still have a slight advantage. But the fact that Liverpool are still in it with, 6 games to go, you really have credit to this Liverpool team. I didn't think they were ready to push City quite as much this season.
Well, it's certainly beginning to look it's going to go all the way down to the wire. Just that Friday night game at St Mary's, just the start of a full weekend in England that stretches through to Monday. Of course, the FA Cup semi-finals also part of the weekend. City against Brighton, Watford against Wolves, and then Chelsea in action Monday against the Hammers. Now, as Kicker puts it, it's the game that everyone has been waiting for. Der Klassiker, Bayern and Dortmund, potentially a title decider in Germany. And this is why the two separated by just 2 points ahead of the big clash in Munich. Dortmund with the advantage after Bayern dropped points last week. Let's bring in the man who's going to be in Munich. Raf Honigstein, asparagus season as well, I hear, in Munich. All sorts of delights to look forward to. But let's concentrate on the game, Raf. As you pointed out, I read your article earlier on at ESPNFC.com. Bayern haven't been great against top opposition this year, have they?
No. You can make an argument that in all games against real top-class opposition, they have failed to win. 2 times against Liverpool, 2 times against Ajax, and of course they lost when they met first time Dortmund back in the autumn when they ran out of steam in a game that could have gone either way. And I think there is a chance that history might repeat itself. Bayern have big players, Bayern will score goals, Bayern will dominate the game, but towards the end of it, when Dortmund will be a little bit fresher perhaps, when Dortmund can make changes that really impact the game, and when maybe a bit of nervousness will creep into the Allianz Arena, if Dortmund are still in it with 20 minutes to go or so, I think they have a real chance of at least nicking a draw, which is almost as good as winning, because they are those 2 points ahead at this moment.
Psychologically, Raf, are they in different places after their recent results? Dortmund getting that late win last week. Bayern, what a week they've had. That bonkers game in midweek against Heidenheim and dropping points last week. Are they in different places right now?
Absolutely. Psychology has changed completely. I mean, Dortmund have never been overly confident. They went into the second half of the season, even though they were 6 points clear, saying it's going to be tough, we're not quite sure, it's going to be a long slog, we will have setbacks. Bayern have been very optimistic, very Bayern-like, we will reel them in, no problem. And everything was leading up to that until last week, when that 1-1 draw at Freiburg and Dortmund's late win against Wolfsburg changed the momentum completely. And the fact that Bayern conceded 4 goals against Heidenheim, second Bundesliga team, only added to that bit of nervousness. And you could just sense in Munich that the situation is very, very volatile. And all it needs is another poor performance. And they've had quite a few of them for the thing to blow up. And it could end quite badly, I think, for Niko Kovac in particular.
Raf, we saw your potential lineup there for Bayern, pretty close to full strength for the Bavarians. For Dortmund, definitely not the case. Some injuries and uncertainties for them, particularly at the back. What do you see their potential 11 looking like?
Well, the good news is that it looks as if Lukas Piszczek is finally back, and he's a big difference because he's the experienced guy. He's maybe a little bit past his best, but still makes a big difference with his organisation, his vocal presence, etc. And Diallo, who's not the best in the left back, but still a more natural defender than Guerrero, is looking as if he might be back as well. So some good news at the back, but some bad news up front, because Paco Alcácer didn't even make the trip. And he, of course, is the guy who scores all these important goals. So I think that Marco Reus will have to play as a shadow striker, which I think weakens Dortmund's position a little bit.
Well, let's see what the odds makers think of what's going to happen in Munich. Bayern heavy favourites, 2-1 on.
92 Dortmund.
9-2 Dortmund, more than 4-1. 50. You almost get 4-1 on a draw, which would suit Dortmund. I don't know if you read too much into recent history or recent results. Craig, Dortmund did win the home game 3-2 in November, but they've been thrashed on their last 3 visits to Munich.
Yeah, I saw that game in Dortmund. Dortmund really put the gas down in the second half and really opened Bayern up. What I saw was a Bayern team, even though they were down to 10 men against Heidenheim, who once again defensively were terrible, against a team that was second in the second tier of German football, who were excellent, by the way. It was a super game. But I look at that Bayern midfield, Thiago, Goretzka and James, and there's not a lot of defending in there. There's not a lot of defensive players. They all want to get on the ball. They all want to play, particularly James and Thiago. And then Goretzka wants to get forward. There's not a lot of protection for that back four. And I think that's a weak link for them. And for that reason, one of those reasons, I actually think Dortmund can go there and win this game. Because as long as they can, if Dortmund can get their defensive structure correct, that Raf said there's a few issues with, then I think they can win this game in Munich.
Which would put the title firmly in their control if they did that. Ali, do you see that happening?
Well, you cannot underestimate the importance of what that game against Heidenheim was like. It's not only the fact that you go down to 10 men and how physically taxing that becomes, it's also mentally a team that was supposed to be sort of a rest for you. It was supposed to be the moment in which you were going to build confidence going into the Dortmund game, that you were going to feel good about yourself. You actually came up with more questions and answers after that match. You get through, you go on, so on and so forth, but I think the damage is done because this is a team that clearly, and Craig just alluded to it, defensively. I mean, you talk about all over the place. You talk about lack of organization. You talk about being disconnected. But I can say the same thing about Dortmund. They lack organization in the back line, and they are disconnected at times. So what I can guarantee you, I don't know who's going to win, who's going to lose, but I can guarantee you there's going to be goals here. This is going to be back and forth. There's going to be goals for no other reason, because these teams can't defend, and they have enough talent to create problems for each of the teams. If you have Lewandowski on top form, he can decide the game for you. If you have Marco Reus on top form, he can decide the game for you. I think, in the end, we're still going to go back to Bayern Munich, playing at home, playing in a game that really and truly matters, and being good enough to beat Dortmund at home.
I think the challenge for Bayern Munich in midweek against Heidenheim was they had one eye on this game, because this is last chance saloon for Bayern Munich. They don't win this, they don't win the Bundesliga title, end of story. But all that being said, up until that game midweek, I would have quite happily said that I thought Bayern Munich were playing by far the better football between the two. Despite the fact that Bayern dropped points last weekend, I thought Borussia Dortmund were very lucky to pick up all three. Huge goalkeeping error in that. At home, last chance saloon for Bayern Munich. I think they get the job done.
Raf, they've won 7 straight, Bayern, in the Bundesliga. Are they going to make it 8 against Dortmund?
Well, I think they are heavy favourites because Dortmund, as you said, have lost there heavily in the last 3 visits. And you would still make Bayern favourites for this particular game. I just think that the extra factor which comes of the importance of the game, and this hasn't been the case in recent years where Bayern were always miles ahead to this point and Dortmund weren't even in contention, will make this a much tighter affair. And we saw that Dortmund have the kind of attributes that hurt Bayern, similar to Ajax, similar to Liverpool. Yes, defensively they have some issues, but going forward they can really hurt this Bayern team. So I think Dortmund are at least good enough for a draw tomorrow night.
Well, enjoy that game, Raf. Enjoy the asparagus as well. You heard me reference his article.
What?
This is the place to fight. It's a great one. It's a great primer for the game. Bayern and Dortmund, the classic. You can read his article on ESPNFC.com. Now, the Serie A standings looking like this heading into the weekend. Just the 18 points. Juventus,
I believe it's over,
in front of Napoli, officially.
Yes,
got the Moreno seal of being over. AC Milan need something, though, don't they? They're in a real fight for a top 4 place. Atalanta just a point behind them. But it's been Moise Kean who's dominated the headlines this week in Italy. News breaking today, he's actually been fined €2,000 for a dive in that game against Cagliari. Your thoughts?
I know I dive when I see one.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't the only player in Italy fined, so it's protocol, but obviously not the big story.
No. In fact, the FIGC ruling on Thursday, a second investigation would be needed to identify the individuals who subjected Kean to racist chants in midweek after, of course, he'd scored that goal. So they're going to try and identify the individuals, pick them out,
and let's hope they do. Listen, I have no problem with the fine for the dive. You want to stamp out diving, you fine players when they do that. I have no challenge to that at all. But if you also want to stamp out racism, then the fines have to reflect your attitude towards it in a similar fashion.
yeah.
I mean,
No talk about points deductions or stadium closures or anything like that just yet. Bonucci, of course, got his fair share of criticism, rightly so, for what he said. Massimiliano Allegro kind of defending him, saying he was in a competitive trance.
Oh, is that what it is?
Expressed himself badly after the game, but immediately apologised and explained what he meant. The two are distinct. He also had plenty to say about Cristiano Ronaldo earlier on, saying Ronaldo seems better. There are good signs for him with 5 days to go until Ajax and Juve. Ronaldo will not play this weekend in that game against AC Milan. Juventus travelled to Amsterdam for the first leg of that quarter-final against Ajax. From the UEFA Champions League, quick switch to the CONCACAF Champions League. Monterrey against Sporting Kansas City. Mexico against MLS last night. First leg in Mexico, and it didn't take long for the home team to establish their advantage.
yeah, Doran Pabon showing defence a clean pair of heels here. Sporting Kansas City caught very thin. All that being said, really good finish, Pabon.
A disastrous start for Kansas City. It only went downhill from there, didn't it? Hurtado with the second.
Poor defending throughout the whole sequence. Not a good enough clearance, not a good enough save. And then eventually on the rebound, 2-0.
And 10 minutes into the second half, 2 became 3. Jesus Gallardo.
Sporting Kansas City desperately flat-footed at the back. You defend like this, of course you're going to get punished against this quality of opposition.
And it just got worse and worse for the MLS club, Ali. Penalty awarded. Hurtado taken down.
100% a penalty goes in the tackle with the wrong leg. Croisset, clearly a penalty. No issues. No issues. 4-0.
And then just for good measure, Pabon pouncing to make it 5.
Just following in the play, and again, at this point, they win well and truly out of Kansas' sails. Pabon with the easy finish.
So it continues a real tale of woe this season for MLS clubs in the CONCACAF Champions League. And Sporting Kansas City boss Peter Vermees after the game saying, listen, I need money to buy quality players. The quality here in Mexico is much, much better than in the US. When you look at the results this year, the heavy lopsided defeats MLS clubs have faced or taken. The one bright spot was Sporting Kansas City, the round of 16, but other than that, it's been a tale of woe, and we've seen it many times in recent seasons, Ali, not just this year. Where does this now leave us? Because MLS have tried to prioritise making progress in this competition. We're not seeing much evidence.
Okay, first of all, we have to stop with this idea that MLS is going to be evaluated solely on what they do against Mexican teams in the CONCACAF Champions League. That MLS is hanging all their hopes and dreams or catching up at Liga MX teams when there is a tremendous history of Liga MX, whereas compared to MLS, that is barely 20 years old. So, look, you have to be realistic in the way you approach this. The other thing, that if you want to compete with these teams, and if that's exactly what your goal is, then you have to allow freedom for teams that want to invest to actually have the ability to go and get players. So then you have to talk about the ability, what do you do with your financial structure as a league, your business model, what it has been up until this point. And so salary cap has to come into question. You have come up with all these ideas of GAM and TAM to try to circumvent this salary cap and the concept of salary cap, to try to allow some of these top teams that want to invest and go get players. But what is happening is that in MLS 2.0, this new version of MLS, you still have old school owners that are saying, wait a minute, we don't want to compete with that because we don't want to invest at that rate. So if you want to go compete at that level, you have to invest at that level.
Shaka, any thoughts? Because what Ali's talking about is uncoupling teams from the financial restrictions imposed by the league.
He's absolutely right. Listen, MLS are a long way off Liga MX right now, certainly in terms of competing, in terms of quality of talent, in terms of the pool of talent. While MLS is doing a good job of growing the product here in the US and making good use of players coming in from South and Central America, Mexico is still the #1 port of call for players at that level, with that kind of talent. MLS are a long way away from that, and again, I'm with Ali. I don't understand the need to verify your league by comparing it against somebody else.
Yeah. Stop trying to position yourself. I mean, there are people out there trying to hoodwink the fans that this league is going to be the Premier League or La Liga or the Bundesliga, never mind Liga MX or anything else. There's a couple of things. One, you're giving yourself a disadvantage by when this starts because of the pre-season. Right, there's no doubt about that. But the second thing is, and I said it last week, and people tiptoe around this with Major League Soccer because they're very prickly about this, prickly about most things, is you can't keep going out and saying, get me David Beckham, get me Ibrahimovic, get me Thierry Henry, get me Giovinco, get me David Villa, when clearly when you play against better teams, there's no point in pushing a narrative that in Major League Soccer every week you're going to see 3.4 goals. You need to strengthen quality defenders. You need to have attention to detail to defence. You don't go out and put playmaker number 10 after number 10 after number 10 after number 7 and all of a sudden go and play good quality teams in Mexico with, average defenders at best and expect to get results. I mean, it is blinker time in that department.
Yeah, there's a lopsided amount of money spent on only 2 or 3 players at each team, isn't there?
And they're all
they want to spread that money out.
Well, but it has become at times a philosophy of MLS that we are going to go after attacking players, and we're going to become the legal choice for attacking players, and this is what they're going to do. Well, you're only addressing one part of the game, and so when you run into the very top teams in Liga MX, what you find is that from 1 to 22, you're going to find a good player. There is no drop-off. What you find in MLS is, even at the best teams, is that you go through 1 through 10, 1 through 11, you got a solid group. After that, the drop-off is steep because it's the only way that you can balance out a salary cap. If you're going to invest in this guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy, there's not a whole lot of money left for everybody else. And so, therefore, what you're going to find is the average player is not nearly as competitive as the average in MLS as the average player in Liga MX. And when they meet against each other, well, guess what? You're going to get beat.
I know the structure's different. I know the finances are different. I know everything's different. Just to give you an example, you take one player out of this Liverpool team and it would unravel. Who is it? Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not Mo Salah. No. It's not Roberto Firmino. It's not Sadio Mane. It is Virgil van Dijk. And that is the reason they paid 75 million for him. It's because defence matters.
Well, when you look at the CONCACAF Champions League bracket, the way it's set up, well, it's Mexico, isn't it? All the way. It's going to be, looks like a Tigres-Monterrey final. Both of those two with healthy. This is what the La Liga standings look like heading into the weekend. It's 8 points now between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. And, oh, yes, they meet at the Camp Nou on Saturday. Diego Simeone sounding an optimistic note, despite the fact he's never won there as Atletico Madrid boss. The fact we've never won there makes me feel very optimistic. Our only chance of winning the title is to win tomorrow. We did win a title there once with a 1-1 draw, but he's going up against, Messi, who keeps on scoring direct from free kicks. So he's got 20 now in the last 5 seasons. When you look across the top 5 European leagues, no one else has more than 11. Cristiano Ronaldo.
So what's the gist of this story?
Has 4. He's pretty good from
Don't
free kicks.
give away free kicks around the box.
Oh, wait, and what do Atletico Madrid do very well? Yes.
Well, we gave our predictions yesterday on this when you two went for a Barcelona win. Craig going for a draw, which I don't know if that will keep the title alive. It will not seal it for Barcelona, but it'll keep it alive.
Delay it.
It will delay the celebration. For much more on that game, we had Sid Lowe on yesterday's show. I suggest you go and give that a viewing. You can also view or listen to our podcast every day on iTunes. Now, to keep up to date with what's going on in our transfer talk, ESPNFC.com, the website constantly updated with all the latest comings and goings, the rumours, the dealings, you name it, we got it. ESPNFC.com. Some interesting updates regarding transfers. Zinedine Zidane saying Hazard is a player who I've always rated, who's played in France. I saw a lot of, and knew personally he is a fantastic player. But that's not all. Dortmund CEO Hans-Joachim Watzke, the club's chasing Jadon Sancho, all know he'll be with us next season. It's like that, and there's no price tag. And because that's known in Europe, nobody has made any inquiries.
You're throwing me off the scent here. What player are we talking about?
This is
it's Griezmann now?
No, this is about Griezmann. We're doing a run-through here. Cerezo, the president, saying it's not 1,000% Griezmann will stay, it's 2,000%.
Well, it can't be any... Well, does he know it can't be any more than 100?
The Barcelona president saying De Ligt, like the other best players, is on the table. He's a great player and a great centre-back. I know what will happen with him. I know, but it's not the moment to talk.
Oh, okay.
Just cancel the transfer window then.
As he was talking. Bruno Satin, meanwhile, a French football agent, a conversation with Varane's brother saying a final decision hasn't been made yet. Varane is mulling things over at the moment. He's won everything at Madrid. And at the end of the day, he's achieved everything he needed to, which is why he feels like now is maybe time for a change. I can assure you he's not in negotiations with anyone at the moment.
What?
So read into that what you will. The transfer talk
you've already done it.
I'm more confused than ever now.
Can also be viewed on our YouTube page. Lots of ESPN.
1,000% confused.
ESPN FC content. I can tell you 3,000% that it's time for Best of the Week.
The 7-point...
All right, then, Friday edition, extra time. Time is short, so we're going to crack right on. I'm interested to see what you come up with a response to this first question. Why is it that you talk about La Liga for 30 seconds and then go on ranting about Wolves? The EPL is not the only league.
Wolves.
Who wants to tackle that?
Who talked about
Was there a
Wolves?
Wolves rant that I missed?
I have no idea.
Shows, but
we did cover La Liga and the Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and Gareth Bale and Real Madrid extensively yesterday.
Good use of extensive.
We talk about Real Madrid and Barcelona probably as much, and rightly so, as any team from the Premier League. We don't talk about the bottom half teams clearly or anything like that. It's like, so I saw somebody tweeting about that there. And Sid comes on.
Yep.
And it's not, by the way, somebody gets Sid on more often. Sid's not always available.
Right. He's a man in demand.
Expensive.
He's expensive, and he's a man.
You know, got to save some money for Peter Walton too, apparently.
Can't have them both.
Here's the thing. Today's show, for example, there was only one significant game available, and that is the Liverpool game. And then what are we supposed to lead with? What are we supposed to talk about?
Levante, apparently.
Oh, talk more about La Liga. No, talk more about Serie A. No, talk more about Liga. No, talk more about the... Oh, bore off. I mean, seriously. And by the way, we don't produce the programme either. It's absolutely nothing to do with us.
Correct.
And that's the real
out of the matter of this question. We
don't shoot the
don't
messages.
get to decide what we talk about.
Just messages here.
Correct.
So there you go. Check yesterday's show.
We are conduits of information.
A lot of La Liga talk on Thursday's show. Talking of Liverpool, are the FA helping Liverpool in the title race because they've scored a lot of goals from offside positions this season? Is there some sort of
honestly
conspiracy going on?
Listen, they got the benefit of a poor refereeing decision. It should have been given offside early in the play, but as was rightly pointed out, there was more than enough opportunities for Southampton to clear after that. Everybody gets it. It comes out in the wash, as they say, over the course of a season. Let's not have this discussion.
Did the same FA get in the referee's ear and say, don't give the penalty on Naby Keita
Right.
in the game?
Yeah.
People are very paranoid, aren't they? I mean, very paranoid.
Conspiracy theories.
It's best to go home, crack a beer open, chill out, forget about it.
It sounds like this is what you're going to do.
Speaking from experience, Mr. Burley.
Don't go, people just got to let it go. Put the ball away. Put the ball away.
It would take some manipulation, wouldn't it, over the course of an entire season for the FA to try and do something.
Again, I just want to go back to the fact that is this exactly what you're doing post-show? Correct. There you go.
I will not be talking shop. As soon as we finish this, the talking shop.
You will not be worrying about.
And where's the ball?
Offside decisions.
Away.
Put the ball away.
Edwin wants to know: has there ever been a free kick taker who has goalies more confused, Shaka, before the kick than Lionel Messi? Same exact spot as Saturday, completely different technique. Talking about the free kicks against Espanyol and Villarreal.
He's very good.
Yes, he is. But what about goalkeeper confusion? Is there?
Is that a thing? I remember Zola in his peak. Zola was scoring 1 and 3 in Serie A. He was as good as they come. I don't think I've seen anybody as good since, though.
I was with him at Chelsea, and the thing was, talking about confusion, he could take them with the right and the left. And he would do it with corner kicks. He would go on the right-hand side and swing it with his left. He'd go on the other side and then swing it with his right. So he could do that with free kicks as well. Memory serves me right. It's kind of...
In terms of a single situation in which a goalkeeper looked quite confused, there's none better than Roberto Carlos and Fabian Barthez seeing the ball kind of going up and over and out the shot and into the goal. What, you didn't like that one? You didn't like that one?
Another Brazilian, Juninho, the old Brazilian Juninho from Lyon, the old...
Yeah, he was good. How did it go?
Whatever you can
I tell you what, there was a...
like that.
I tell you what, and if anybody wants to look it up, there was a guy who came to Celtic just at the end when I was there called Lubo Moravcik. Slovakian playmaker, and he was unbelievable at free kicks, and he was two-footed. Celtic fans still talk about him to this day. He was an amazing free kick taker.
You have a clip reel of him, apparently. I've been told.
On Betamax.
Craig Burley's Smile is the provider of the next question. I don't know if he's a regular contributor.
Hold on, is that the same guy as Craig Burley's beard?
No.
He just changed his Twitter handle.
It's his cousin. He says, setting aside the huge money they can offer, is United a desired location for talent this summer? If
they finish top 4.
If you were world-class talent, would you be looking to go to United?
If they finish top 4 and they have Champions League football, absolutely, Manchester United are still a very big club and a good destination.
Well, but how can you set aside the huge money?
Setting aside the huge money they can offer. But you can't take that out of the equation.
No, of course not.
No.
I mean, Manchester United in itself is appealing. Manchester United with a huge pile of cash, it's even more appealing.
Yeah. It was interesting. There was a piece today in England that was saying that Solskjaer's budget plans have been put on hold. So depending on whether they finish in the Champions League or not, there is I believe there is a budget for being in the Champions League and signing players, and one is not. It's not one budget fits all at Man United.
Yeah.
So there might not be as much cash as people think if they don't make the top four, which...
Yeah. There was a time, wasn't there, post Sir Alex Ferguson, when the feeling was some of the top players...
And it rains a lot in Manchester.
Some of the top players didn't want to go to United anymore post-Fergie.
Because the football was awful.
Yes.
Fergie was great at getting them in. I mean, he lost out and... No, he didn't. He got Berbatov in, who was going to Man City. And I think Van Persie the same, and he talked him round because people... They wanted the money, of course, but you wanted to play for him as well, and it was successful.
All right, from United to Chelsea. Should Chelsea just let Kante go in the summer, along with Hazard, receive a hefty transfer fee...
And do what?
And start a rebuild when the transfer ban is up?
It's not up for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean...
Or what, it's not up. So, doesn't make much sense unless...
They may be able to do something this summer. There may be a delay or a...
Are you surmising that that's what's going to happen?
You're an awful lawyer if that's what you're trying to be here, Adrian.
Hey guys, can we get a...
Let's hope Adrian's not Chelsea's lawyer. Can we get a delay?
Come on, guys. We'll be good.
Just going on past history.
Well, they've already been told, haven't they?
Yeah. Sure. Definitively, they're going to appeal, though. They're always going to appeal, aren't they?
Are you appealing?
Endless appeal.
If it's you're the one appealing, it ain't going to work.
Why don't you go along with your little briefcase?
My gavel? Gavel and a wig?
Briefcase and say, listen...
Oh, no, that's a judge, isn't it?
I've just let Kante and Hazard go. How's about mid-July? Something like that. Just give us...
So I'm surmising you say, no, not a good plan.
Crack the window opener just a little bit.
They should keep Kante.
It depends on this...
It all depends on the ban, yeah? All right.
Are you okay?
Stop. Are you flagging?
Yes,
no, one last...
He's disappointed.
One last important point to get in. Why are they, and I stress they, Craig, Ali and Stevie, so quick to get angry? Why can't they be more like Gab and Shaka, says Bear here.
Look, so I'll take the Shaka part.
Apparently you are the voice
Not everybody can be like this, you know what I'm saying?
You're the voice of calm composure.
Well put.
Couple of things. If Craig, myself, and Stevie had the amount of time off that Shaka has, then look, smiles will just be flowing left and right.
That's
so
I'm just saying. True.
He's in a permanently relaxed state.
Well, by the way, Gab's not averse to getting angry. And by the way, when we're sitting here listening to him bumbling on for about 2.5 minutes, it's hard not to get angry.
At Gab, at life, just in general.
Right.
The smile.
Yes.
Smile.
I like the contrast, you know. Can't all be... Can't all be ranters and ravers.
I tell you what, there's enough soccer shows out there and around this globe that are vanilla. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
There's enough of them that are vanilla.
Yeah.
We're not.
Try living in the UK.
To you. All done. Hey, there's the running order.
What flavour is this show?
There's the running order.
That's my question.
Don't dare veer from that running order. To you, to me, to you.
If ESPN FC was ice cream, I'm asking extra time that question. If ESPN FC was ice cream, what would we be?
Rocky Road.
Yeah. It's not cotton candy, that's for sure.
Or vanilla, apparently.
No.
Let's just have a nice little conversation about football. What do you think? No, there wasn't that a wonderful match? What do you think? Oh, what do you think? Oh, what do you think? Oh, goodbye. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Yes. That's pretty much it.
Where else are you going to get Google YouTube?
No. No.
Only here, all-encompassing.
Or lasagna, for that matter. You aren't getting that anywhere. You are not getting that anywhere else. So don't take the rough with the smooth, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, Rocky Road.
Oh, man.
Right, get us off. I'm getting angry.
Having a day off tomorrow.
No, I'm not.
Oh, no, you're in. You're in. Are you in?
I'm in.
You in? All right. I'm the one having the day off. I'll be gone.
You're trying to put it on me. You're the one. You see how this works?
I will not see you tomorrow. These guys will.
I'm not on the show tomorrow.
Oh, there it is.
I am here.
There it is.
You're calling a game, aren't you?
And the smile is back.
I'm doing a game commentary tomorrow.
Juventus Milan.
That's me.
The smile is back.
The dulcet tones.
He's doing Milan, Juve Milan for the Caribbean. Where he's a legend.
Well, because he spends a lot of time down there.
I have to go.
Caribbean legend, Shaka
Get in
Hislop.
touch with the people.
You do that very often, Shaq.
That's me getting in touch with the people.
Right, come on.
You got your goal calls ready to go tomorrow, haven't you? For
just finish up. Let's go.
All right. See you next time.
That's a nice way.
That's the worst goodbye I've ever seen in my life. Oh, God.